I want to tell you a story that changed my life.
If you could go back in time and change one thing that you did, said, or didn't say, what would it be?
My grandmother was my closest person in the entire world. She was so loving and accepting that she's the closest to what I've known as someone who experiences unconditional love. I love her very, very much. She was literally my favorite human being in the entire world, and I'm so grateful for having her in my life. But the way I lost her was extremely painful. And I want to tell you this story because although it was so painful, it actually made me a better person, and it helped me understand profound things about life that I've been living and embodying ever since. I was a very problematic teenager. I had depression, I've experienced suicidal thoughts, and I was constantly sunken into this deep negative feeling, not being able to accept the world as it is. And I didn't know what's the reason for it. So I've been constantly searching for answers my whole life. Thankfully, after high school, this started improving a little bit, but I was still very much sunken into feeling horrible. The thing about feeling bad about yourself is that it's very easy to become extremely self-centered and to have the feeling as if you're the only one in the world who has problems. So some people have difficulties experiencing empathy for other people, and very often when you feel bad, you're very likely to treat others in a bad way. So I used to be like this. I was 20 years old. My grandmother called me, and it was this beautiful celebration in Bulgaria that welcomes the beginning of spring. And I guess she wanted to greet me for the celebration, but I was so depressed and feeling so bad about myself that I was just grumpy and sour and bitter on the phone. And I could feel the sadness in her voice. And this made me even angrier. So I treated her in a very rude way. And at the end of our conversation, she said with deep sadness in her voice, she said, "I love you." And I didn't respond back. I did it on purpose. I was just angry within myself, with the world, with everyone. So I just didn't say, "I love you." And I hung up the phone. And a few hours later, my sister called me and told me that my grandmother has passed away. And probably I was the last person she spoke to before she died. So it was a horrible experience. I couldn't really forgive myself for a very long time. But what truly helped me is reshaping my perspective on this event. Thanks to what happened, I kind of woke up from feeling bad about myself. And I realized that every conversation could be the last conversation you're having with a person, with a loved one. So I started paying attention to what words I deliver to the other person. In situations of conflicts, I would slam the door, hung up the phone, but then I would immediately think about how I lost my grandmother. So I would go back, hug the person, apologize. And I realized that in the face of death, there's nothing that's so important that allows you to not be kind and not be loving. There have been so many situations in my life where I treated others kindly, even though I didn't feel like it because I felt hurt or angry. But thanks to this situation, the way I lost my grandmother and how much suffering and regret this caused me, I truly changed. I changed my perspective about how we should treat each other. I managed to overcome those negative emotions that were literally ruling my life. And at this point of my life, I still experience very negative feelings oftentimes, but they don't control me. I've learned to live with them, but to act upon my conscious thinking. So my values right now include treating others with care and love and acceptance and being as kind as possible. So even if I feel angry or I feel bitter or maybe I just feel down, that's not something that will come out of me to another person. I'm not going to make someone feel bad just because I'm feeling down. And the other lesson I took from this experience is that unfortunately we can't go back in time. We can't change our past, right? But what I can do is try and live more like my grandmother. So I truly took these qualities of her, of being loving and accepting, and I try to adopt them more within myself. And this has become a true inspiration and purpose in my life. I guess if I have one big purpose in this world, is to live in a more loving and more accepting way. I told myself that my grandmother wouldn't want me to live with regret my whole life, and I wouldn't really achieve much if I only live with regret. So instead, I'm trying to be more like her, to be inspired by the example she was in my life, and just to remember this experience as something that was probably my most valuable lesson in my entire life. I'm telling you this story because there are many things that we feel regretful for, and that's normal and that's human. We can't really change those things. Sometimes we failed relationships that couldn't be fixed. Sometimes we lost someone after saying or not saying something to them that makes us feel regretful. We can't really change those things. But what we can change is this moment. And what we have in this moment is our perception and our choice. And I believe that everything that happens in our life has some kind of meaning. And we are the ones that can choose to see it or not. So I could have chosen to live my whole life with regret. And I admit that I'm very often sad about this event that happened in my life. I still cry sometimes. I have these endless dreams where I dream of my grandmother and I tell her, I love you. So I guess that part of me will always feel sad about what happened, but there's also this sense of meaning. And I think that sometimes we see healing as I'm never going to experience a negative feeling towards a memory or a trauma, or I'm never going to feel bad about it. But I'm not quite sure if this is necessarily realistic. Maybe for certain cases it is, for others it's not. But in my opinion, healing could be something as simple as just changing my perspective on something that has happened and choosing to see the meaning of it and choosing to see the lesson in it, and choosing to act better in the present moment, which is the only moment that we truly have. So if I could go back in time, of course, I would change this situation. I would have said, I love you. I would have done so many things differently. But maybe this was supposed to happen. Maybe this was the best thing for me to happen, the thing I needed the most in order to wake up and to understand that it's not so important whether I'm feeling okay or not. What's truly most important, how I'm treating others, and if I let them know that I love them. And one of the best things about my life so far has been that I've truly managed to distinguish between how I'm feeling right now and whether I can empathize with another human being. This gives you a sense of freedom from yourself. I've been having so many situations where I've spoken with friends or family members, and they've shared, their burdens with me, how they are feeling about their lives, their difficulties. And in moments where I also felt down and bad about myself or something that's happening in my life, I could still open up myself to that person and I could listen and I could empathize with them, and I could truly be there showing that I love them, that I support them. And this is an amazing power that we as humans have. And I think that very often we underestimate the power of kindness, the power of love, of being there for each other in the face of death. Everything else in life loses its meaning, but the relationships and how we've treated others and how much love and care we've experienced in this life, I guess these are the things that matter at the end of our lives, or at least These are the things that would matter for me. I hope that if you have such regrets about things that have happened in the past, that you can find the meaning, find the lessons in them, and allow yourself to have a better perspective about what has happened and just find some kind of peace within yourself.
Ти тут седиш в мене, викати ме гушня, ма така нежно, така мило се звучи. Каже, о, бабо, колко те обичам.